But when you reconnect with what energizes you, what fulfills you, and what feels aligned, everything starts to shift. So energy will return when you reconnect. Creativity returns when you reconnect, and clarity returns when you reconnect. Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this. Hey friends, and welcome back to Life Coaching for Mompreneurs. Today, I want to take you behind the scenes of a recent women's retreat that I hosted. This is my first retreat in probably 5 or 6 years. So I used to host 1 to 2 retreats every single year for all of my leaders when I was with 31 Gifts. And I always knew that it would be something else that I would want to do again in my coaching business. And so I've been thinking about it, and I finally just decided this is what I'm going to do. And it happened this last weekend, and it was absolutely amazing. I know this is something that I want to continue to do. I know that there's something powerful that happens when you get in the room with women. And when I get in the room as a coach with the women. So the women that were at this retreat were all of my private one-on-one clients. This was an added bonus to all of my private one-on-one clients to be able to come to this retreat. And it was my treat to them. And it's just today's episode. I'm not going to talk about logistics or kind of recap the schedule, but I do want to share with you what I witnessed when women finally slow down long enough to hear themselves again, because it's really powerful. And it's something I've been reflecting on. And it's really kind of the compelling reason for me to do retreats, because even when I was doing them with 31, there is something really powerful and special when you step away from the noise of everyday life and give yourself some time to create, to rest, to connect to yourself, to the other women in the room. Most of these women that came to the retreat did not know each other. And it was really cool and affirming for me to see them connect so swiftly. And the activities and the things I had on our agenda were very intentional to create safety. It's very important to me that the women that are in the rooms feel safe to be themselves and to be able to open up and share both their wins and their struggles. And so there were a lot of activities that I scheduled in that were just intentional about that. But when the calendar pauses and the expectations of motherhood and the business and all the other responsibilities in your life kind of quiet down, and when you're surrounded by women who understand the journey that you're on, like clarity begins to surface. And the really spiritual, amazing experience about this retreat is every morning there was so much fog. So we were on an oceanfront penthouse, and the view every day was completely blocked by the fog. It was so thick. And there was just such a spiritual representation of that's how the women came into the retreat, with the fog. And maybe you're listening to this episode right now and you're feeling that fog and you're not sure what is in front of you. You're not sure what's going to happen 5 miles down the road, but just the way that all throughout the day, as the sun broke through, as things got clearer and clearer and the fog dissipated throughout the day, it was just such a visual representation of what was happening each day for the client. So as the host, wanting them to have that ocean view and that sunrise moment every morning, it just was so profound to have that. I could not have planned to have deep fog every morning like that. We even did yoga on the beach one morning and with the fog, and even the yoga instructor just really kind of tied it together. And it's just really amazing. But when you allow yourself that space, clarity begins to surface. And that's exactly what I watched unfold. What women were carrying when they arrived at that retreat, many of them were carrying so much, and honestly more than they realized. Some came in exhausted. One of the women said before the retreat, I felt mentally and emotionally exhausted. And another one just simply said, I was lost. And others described feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, unsure of where they belonged. And here's the thing, these are women who are not failing. Like, they have successful businesses or successful careers, and they're very smart, they're very capable, and they're very successful in many ways. But like many high achieving women, they've been carrying everything for everyone else in their families, in their businesses, in their relationships. And rarely did they have space, or I will say, create the space where they didn't have to be the strong one. And so, what happens when you're given that space, or when you decide to take that space, it's a space to slow down. Like, when you are intentional about creating that space to slow down, space to reflect, space to process thoughts that normally kind of get pushed aside because life is moving too fast. And one woman shared something that really stayed with me. She said, I realized that I've been operating from unintentional beliefs that I don't have time for a 10 out of 10 life right now. Can you imagine thinking that ongoing, and the emotions that comes with that thought? Think about that. I don't have time for a 10 out of 10 life right now. How many of you are quietly believing that? That rest and joy and fullness are all things that you'll get to later, after this season is over, or after the kids are older, or after your business grows to a certain level. But what shifted for her during the retreat was realizing something very powerful. A full life is still possible in this season. It might just require more creativity and intentionality. And that realization alone felt freeing for her. So there is power. And one of the things, I talk about this on the podcast all the time, but we did spend some time thinking about what we're thinking about, because you've heard me say what you think about is what you're going to be about. So one of the ladies shared that she realized that the friction she'd been feeling in her business wasn't necessarily because everything isn't optimized yet. It was just her thinking that. And that was a huge awareness, because sometimes your thoughts feel so true. And then you think that you're a victim to that, right? That it's a true circumstance. But most times it's not the true circumstance. It's just a thought error that you're having, and it feels very real. And that's what drives your action or your inaction. So often we assume the problem is external. If I had the right system, if I had the right strategy, if I had the right structure, but many times the real shift happens internally. We can't solve internal problems externally. When we look at our thoughts and ask, is this actually true, or is this just a story I've been repeating? There's power in that. There's power in looking at that. And I think for a lot of the ladies in the retreat, and even for me as the host and their coach, to watch them coach each other on that, and to watch them catch each other with some of those thoughts, like, it's just so powerful to see that. Another amazing theme that just kept coming up again and again and again was the connection. And I hear this pretty frequently about moms and entrepreneurs finding their people, because you can have friends, but if they're not moms and entrepreneurs, they don't understand the same things they don't understand the struggles. They don't understand the things to celebrate. It's just, they can be your friend, but they don't understand. And there's a different connection there. So many of these women said they didn't realize how much they were missing deep, meaningful connections with people who get it. So lacking that true connection is what really fills their cup, and their cup was to overflow after this weekend. And I will say, for me, this is why I wanted to do the retreat. My word for the year, and we did vision boards at this retreat as well, is connect. And I want my strategies and my marketing and my offers are all going to be revolved around this word connection, because when I feel connected to myself and I feel connected to my people and I feel connected to the things that I'm offering, the energy is different. And I had one of my highest months last month in my coaching business so far. And it was not because I worked harder, it was because I connected deeper. And I think there are many of you who are running businesses and building businesses that you're disconnected from. And so, no strategy, no offer or plan is going to help with that. You have to figure out, what do you feel connected to right now? And it might be different. Like, I was talking to a peer who is, her kids are younger, and she's not wanting to be out and about, and she loves, that she can do her business online. And I remember, like, I loved when I had a primarily online business, because my family life really benefited from having an online business. And now my kids are 18 and 21, and I want to be out more, connecting with people face to face, belly to belly, heart to heart. And so the business that I'm wanting to build right now is what I feel most connected to right now is not an online business. It's more of an offline business. And so there's no right or wrong way. It's just you asking the question, what do I feel connected to? What is compelling to me? What lights me up? What gets me excited? And part of that comes from knowing yourself on a level that you know what your superpower is, you know what your strengths of your personality are. And for me, my number one strength is people, my people trait. So, of course, it makes sense that if I'm not connecting with people outside of being on the screen, I'm probably going to feel a little disconnected. So, I really want you to think about that as a mom and as an entrepreneur, whether it's from a personal side and you're not connected to the people like your friends and your family, or from a business side. What about your business do you feel the most connected or disconnected to? And then what do you want to do with that information? Quick pause. If you've been listening and you're ready to stop performing your life and start leading it, if you know you're ready to feel better now, not later, and you're ready for support that actually creates sustainable transformation, I have private one-on-one coaching spots open. And inside this coaching, in Illuminate You Coaching, we don't guess. We use your unique personality blueprint built from the science-backed personality and performance tool called the ProScan, the one you've heard me talk about here in the podcast. This is used so that every decision, every boundary, every shift is designed specifically around your wiring, not someone else's. This is my aligned success method. It's not hacks. It's not try harder. It's not mindset glitter. It's a real solution. It's rooted in science, strategy, and your unique design. So you can lead your life as the woman you actually are, not the woman others expect you to be. Now is the time. Take the step. Book your clarity call at martinewilliams.com/clarity. All right, back to the episode. So another woman said, and this kind of moved me. She said, in most areas of my life, I'm the one supporting everyone else. And being in a space where she could just be supported was incredibly refreshing, where she could be seen. And that was kind of the theme of this retreat, was to be seen, to be strengthened, to be anchored, and to be aligned. And I wanted the women who came to this retreat to feel seen and to see one another. So she went on to say that I felt celebrated instead of feeling like a hot mess. I thought maybe I actually matter. Like, that statement hit my heart so hard, because she does matter. But coming into the retreat, she didn't feel that way. She felt like a hot mess. But having that connection and having that support and being seen by these other women has her mindset shifting to, like, maybe I do actually matter. That's powerful. That's why spaces like this matter. That's why I want to create spaces like this, because so many women are carrying so much without realizing how much they need connection. They don't realize how disconnected they are until they get in a room like the one I created for this retreat and the one they created for each other, to see and feel what true connection is. And as the retreat went on, things started to shift. I mean, I saw breakthroughs in identity, and women seeing themselves not completely different, but seeing themselves differently for the first time, like realizing that they belong in the space that they're in and they have some valuable things to contribute with their voice. Imagine a woman leaving a retreat feeling that way. The impact that she is going to have on her family, on her business, on her friendships, to know that she's valuable and she can contribute with her voice. And another client said, not everything is my fault. Like she was coming in thinking everything that went wrong in her life was her fault. Imagine the heaviness of that and then shifting out of that. It's really powerful. The retreat was restorative. It was intentional. It was empowering. There are some other words that I heard these women talk about. And what struck me the most was how quickly clarity emerged once the noise quieted, once they took a breath, gave themselves some space, and how quickly they all connected to one another, because it was like, oh, you too? Oh, this is your strength and my strength are the same, and we are misunderstood in this way, and this is how this becomes a superpower, and this is what our biggest challenge might be with this strength. Like just having that common commonality in their strengths, but also like hearing the different strengths being described and talked about and how they implement that in their life. It just created such a connection that they're in like their own chat right now. And they're, just really already just continuing that connection and chatting with one another. And it's just really powerful to see. And to know that I helped facilitate that is such just a heartwarming moment for me. And the biggest lesson from the retreat wasn't just what happened during those few days. It was that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your life in your business isn't to work harder. It isn't. I shared that a few minutes ago. It's to slow down long enough to remember who you are, what matters, and what you actually love. That's sometimes the most powerful thing you can do. And the slowdown is hard. It's really hard. I'm not saying it's easy to slow down, especially if you're a highly ambitious woman. Like you got things to do and people to take care of, and I get it. But that doesn't mean that it's still not valuable or important for you to create that space for yourself. Because when we build our lives around what everyone else is doing, we lose connection with ourselves. When I am in, which I am always, or have always had a coach, but I've been in different group programs, masterminds, and my current mastermind that I'm in, a lot of the women are following a certain model to build certain types of businesses. And I have been trying to do that, but I just felt disconnected to some, and I couldn't really put those words to it until the last 6 months. But when I have been going out and speaking, whether it be book clubs or I spoke at a church for Mother's Day last year, I'm going to be doing a lot more speaking this year, but I realized that that's how I want to build my business. And that's how I want to create connection for other women, and connecting to that and trusting my gut. So I'm an intuitive decision maker, and trusting my gut when it's telling me maybe an online group program is not what you want to do. And as a high conformity person, when I see something being done and being done well, in my mind, like that's the way to do it. I have to do it that way. And not even thinking about how connected I feel to it. So that's what I want you to be thinking about, is just because you see other people doing businesses certain ways, if you're not connected to it, it's going to create hustle, and it's going to create just kind of a low vibration, low energy when you go to market it or when you go to even deliver on it, because you're losing connection with yourself. But when you reconnect with what energizes you, what fulfills you, and what feels aligned, everything starts to shift. Last month was a perfect example of that. I didn't work harder. I just connected deeper. And I had one of my largest months as a coach. So energy will return when you reconnect. Creativity returns when you reconnect. And clarity returns when you reconnect. And a lot of these women, that happened for them this weekend. But I think for me, that was the biggest takeaway, is I felt so connected to my work again. And I realized that this is something that I want to continue to do moving forward. So you don't have to attend a retreat to create this kind of clarity, although I highly recommend attending a retreat. But you do have to create space to think, space to reflect, space to ask yourself some honest questions like, what do I actually want? Like, just answer that question, and no one has to read it, and you don't have to do anything with it yet, but just be honest. What do you actually want? And then, what do I love doing? What is it that I love doing? Where am I following someone else's blueprint instead of my own? Those three questions. What if you just spent some time with those three questions this week? They can change everything. But they're not going to be answered in your head, and they're not going to be answered on accident. You have to put some time away, and it doesn't have to be a full hour. What if you gave yourself 30 minutes to sit and answer those questions for yourself? I guarantee you've spent 30 minutes scrolling on some type of device today. What if instead of that, you actually leaned in and asked yourself some honest questions? So I'm really excited about some new things that I'm going to be offering in 2026 in the way of in-person opportunities. And I know I've been talking about it pretty frequently here on the podcast recently, and I'm not ready to share all of the details. But if you are tired of like everything being on the screen and you're looking for some real in-person opportunities, you definitely want to be on my email list. You can go to martinewilliams.com and get on my glow up list, because my email list is always the first to get information about what I'm offering. And I'll be sharing more details in the next couple of weeks about that. But if you have screen fatigue and you're like, I don't want to be in a big room with lots of people. I want to be in a room where I am seen and I'm strengthened and I'm anchored and I'm aligned, then the experiences that I'm going to be providing in 2026 are for you. If you haven't found your people and you're looking to connect, not just from a networking standpoint, that too, but you also want to have some real coaching in a smaller setting where the coach sees you and knows your name and is able to kind of work with you. You definitely want to stay tuned for what I'm going to be offering coming up. It doesn't matter if you're local or not local. I'll share more details about that later, but you can go to martinewilliams.com and get on the glow up list. If you're like, I want to start talking and getting some information about my own business or about my life and some priorities that are out of whack, and I want to talk to someone to get some clarity around that, I highly recommend you book a clarity call. You can go to martinewilliams.com also for that, or you can go to the show notes or martinewilliams.com/clarity, and you can book your clarity call there. But lots of ways for me to support you outside of this podcast. And I would absolutely love to get to know you and meet you and kind of hear what you have for 2026. So hosting this retreat really reminded me of something important. When women are given permission to slow down and to be honest and reconnect with themselves, incredible things happen. Clarity replaces confusion, connection replaces isolation, and hope replaces exhaustion. And that's something that every woman deserves. Every single one of you that is listening to this podcast, you deserve clarity, connection, and hope. You deserve to feel confident. You deserve to feel like you matter. You deserve to know what lights you up and what energizes you, and go create that for yourself. So I am excited to connect with all of you and continue connecting with you here on the podcast and the other things that I'm going to be offering here pretty soon. But until then, I'm believing in you always, and feel free to come over to Instagram at Martine31Williams and let me know how I can help you, how I can support you in creating your next breakthrough. All right, friends, catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.